Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello and good evening, it's me, Alex Armstrong, on State of the Nation. Tonight, the face of pure evil, the illegal migrant from Sudan who demonically murdered innocent young Rhiannon White, is finally sentenced. How do we prevent this happening in the future, and should we bring back the death penalty? Also tonight.
Raised that issue whilst I was here, and the Chinese are absolutely clear in response. The restrictions no longer apply. President Xi said to me that means all parliamentarians are welcome.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says China has agreed to lift sanctions on some British MPs and peers following talks with President Xi Jinping. But is it just an empty gesture? Plus, a Labour-run council has spent £30,000 on commissioning a project that focused on the mental health of asylum seekers, yet it claims it can't afford to run local elections. And do you use artificial intelligence? Well, a new report suggests that some AI chatbots have a severe left-wing bias. Plus, if you haven't seen it already, let me know what you think happens next on gbnews.com/your say. State of the Nation starts now. And joining me for what's going to be a very lively State of the Nation is journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant and political commentator Benjamin Butterworth. But before we get to it, first, it's your news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you very much. The top stories. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says China has agreed to lift sanctions on British MPs and peers after talks with President Xi Jinping. It comes after Donald Trump has said it was very dangerous for the UK to do business with China as the Prime Minister arrived in Shanghai on the third day of his visit to the country. Sir Keir Starmer has secured a visa-free travel deal with China during his trip, a move the government says will boost trade and business links. Shadow National Security Minister Alicia Cairns told GB News she would be disappointed if she were the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, the Liberal Democrats leader Sir Ed Davey says it's a real issue doing a deal with China. A Sudanese asylum seeker has been jailed for life for murdering asylum hotel worker Rhiannon White on a railway station platform. Deng Chul Magic was sentenced to a minimum term of 29 years for murdering the British mother of one. Miss White died on the 23rd of October of 2024, 3 days after Magic stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver at a train station in Warsaw. Passing the sentence today, Mr Justice Saul said the Sudanese national had acted with a chilling composure in every aspect of his behaviour when he killed the 27-year-old. The US Justice State Department has published a new cache of files related to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. They are releasing 3 million pages, including 2,000 videos and 180,000 images related to Epstein. Thousands of pages have already been made public in prior releases, which have included photographs with high-profile people, text messages and emails. There is no suggestion that appearing in the documents implies any wrongdoing, and many people who have featured in previous releases have denied wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. Millions of low-income families will continue to receive £150 off their winter energy bills. That's after the government confirmed its warm home discount will remain for the rest of the decade. Ministers have said extending the scheme for another 5 years would help with the ongoing high cost of living, which has largely been fuelled by a big increase in energy costs. The average energy bill for a household in England, Wales and Scotland, remaining on a standard variable tariff, reached £1,758 a year this winter. Hannah Spencer has been announced as the Green Party's candidate for the Gorton and Denton by-election. That is likely to take place on Thursday, the 26th of February. The by-election was triggered after the resignation of Andrew Gwynn. Local campaigner Jackie Pearcey has been announced as the Liberal Democrats candidate. Matt Goodwin was announced on Tuesday as Reform UK's candidate. The Workers' Party announced their candidate as Shabazz Sarwar. Labour is set to announce their candidate tomorrow, and the Conservative Party have not yet confirmed when they will make their announcements. And finally, the Emmy-winning actress Catherine O'Hara, who starred in the Home Alone films and sitcom Schitt's Creek, has died. The Canadian-American actress was 71 years old. She died on Friday at her home in Los Angeles following a brief illness, her agency has said in a statement. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, there's more news in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to State of the Nation. Well, this is the face of pure evil. Deng Magic, the illegal migrant from Sudan who demonically murdered innocent young Rhiannon White with a screwdriver while she waited for a train home after looking after men like Magic at a migrant hotel. The sick, vile creature then proceeded to stab Rhiannon 20 times, 11 directly to her head. After he'd finished his barbarity, he proceeded to dance with joy at his actions. And during the court proceedings, Magic showed no sign of remorse and appeared to be completely uninterested throughout. He's now been sentenced to life, 29 years in prison without parole. But the cost of paying for this man to live in conditions, well, like the ones in our prisons, that I can only assume, by the way, are far better than where he's come from, those costs to keep him in prison are eye-watering. Not forgetting this evil thing should never have been allowed to step foot on our land in the first place, let alone be put up at the kindness of the British taxpayer in a hotel. Keeping this man alive in our prisons will cost the taxpayer between £1.8 million and £2.3 million over the next 29 years. And I don't know about you at home, but I'd rather not pay to keep this murderer alive after he deprived Rhiannon of her life, condemning her family to a far worse sentence than he will ever serve or receive. Now, I strongly believe the only fitting punishment for such evil is to let him hang. Restore the death penalty for all sick crimes, whoever commits them. How many more people have to die? How many more little girls need to be raped before our politicians actually wake up and do something about this? Because it seems to many, now that our weak political class seems to care more about the human rights of illegal migrants than they do for the safety of British citizens. And the reality is, we can end this barbarity now. We can detain and deport these men and warn them. Any crimes committed on our soil will lead to severe consequences, no exceptions. And joining me this evening is journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant and political commentator Benjamin Butterworth to discuss this very shocking story. I know this is, Ingrid, this has shocked the nation today. Of course, we heard about what happened to poor Rhiannon and her family, consequentially, of course, over the last months. But always very shocking to hear when we've now heard the sentencing and hear the story once again.
Once again, this is the thing. Yeah. It's over and over and over. It just doesn't stop, and there's no deterrent. You know, it is eye-wateringly horrendous how much it's going to cost. 1.8 to sort of like 2.3 billion. I worked it out to be a little bit less, but then that's without inflation. But let's not forget, he will get free dentistry and he'll be seen immediately. All his medical cares dealt with immediately. Operations, whatever. It is actually a comparative life of luxury that man has. The meals, the everything, it's so... The whole thing is so completely sickening, and we're just not learning. And I absolutely agree with death penalty. Yeah. I've for years, decades, I've thought a life for a life in situations like this. I'm just hoping. It's a horrible thing to say. It might upset some people, but it's what I'm going to say because this is what I believe it. Yes. I just hope it's dealt with accordingly by other prisoners. That usually happens, doesn't it? Well, sort of like law takes over there. It's a different form of law. Absolutely.
Benjamin, you know, I'm not really pro-death penalty in most cases. I'm not. However, the crime this man has committed, and I don't implore anyone to read what actually happened with the court account of what he did. It's disgusting. It is beyond. It's evil. It's the only word to describe it is evil. But there needs to be a deterrence. These acts are happening time and time again, and depraved acts like this. And yet there doesn't seem to be a strict enough form of deterrence to stop people from doing it.
Well, first of all, clearly he should be removed from the country rather than paid for by taxpayers in prison. I think the law is being changed so that if you get a custodial sentence of more than 12 months, that will be possible. And one of the problems on a practical level is when people are from countries, Sudan this guy is from, when we don't recognise the government and they're in a civil war, it can be very difficult on a practical level to actually get somebody back to the country. It's one of the reasons why we don't send people back to Afghanistan, because as a country, as a state, we don't recognise the Taliban as running Afghanistan, and therefore, while that makes sense in itself, it causes all sorts of problems when you have cases like this. In principle, he certainly shouldn't be here.
When it comes to people being sent back to their countries, you know, we of course talk about this rules-based order. We need to have these agreements drawn up with these countries. But if we can't draw them up, why don't we just take off a flight and drop them off there? I don't understand this need to sort of cater to this rules-based order that doesn't exist in some cases, yet British people have to suffer as a result of that.
Well, we'd have to liaise with that state in order to take them back. And, you know, if we don't recognise a government, I'm afraid it's just one of the problems that comes up. But clearly he should be sent back at the first opportunity that's possible. I don't agree, however, with the death penalty, because the reality is, first of all, if it were a deterrent, then the US would have a lower homicide rate than we do when it has a considerably higher rate. There isn't a city in America with a lower homicide rate than we have. And so obviously it is not itself a deterrent. Secondly, you know, how many people should be killed by mistake? And there is just no doubt that that would happen, because we see in our own system serious miscarriages of justice. There was a man recently that had spent 40 years in prison and turned out to be innocent. There was a child killer in Australia who was freed, which they thought had overwhelming evidence. And so long as you don't think that you would be willing to lose your life when innocent, then I'm afraid you can't have the death penalty. The third point I would make is that I actually think the death penalty is a cop-out, because it's the loved ones of the offender that lose out, because they lose the person that for some reason they still care about, whereas the person who did the crime, well, they feel nothing. They have a painless death.
Yeah, I mean, if some good points you make there, Benjamin. I will concede that. I will also say, though, that I think it should be the choice of the family of the person that's had the crime committed against them. I think they should have the choice to say, actually, I want this person removed. Because what I think about, Ingrid, is that 29 years' time, this man might get released from prison. We don't know, of course, whether he would, but he might. And, other people of that family might be younger, grandchildren or cousins. They'll be thinking about that moment. They'll be thinking about that moment. And I think families do not have enough control over this.
They don't.
And they're going to suffer the worst sentence here.
Well, she had a little boy, didn't she? And I think he's about 2 years old. So at that point, he'll be, 31 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, what's that going to do to him?
It'll destroy him. I believe he's thinking of wanting to become a brain surgeon off the back of this because of the way she was, the brain injury that she incurred. He thought, if I become a brain surgeon, I could save her life. It's just so utterly tragic.
Yeah.
So utterly tragic.
Going back to what you were saying, and I do get it. It's so funny. Statistics sort of throw the world a little bit apart, and you can't kind of argue it sort of always consistently. But look at Dubai. There's no crime there. There's no theft. If it happens sort of behind the scenes, which it happens in any case here. We all know that too. It happens all over the world. But, their judicial system, they come down so hard. So why can't we and the rest of the world adopt a similar system that... it's safe. You're safe to walk around everywhere, any time of day or night.
I mean, it's right that you almost certainly won't get your phone nicked in Dubai or the UAE. That's obviously correct. But actually, the rest of the world might have lower rates of organised crime if the UAE actually enforced laws. The UAE doesn't have extradition treaties. So Dubai is full of global criminals, of drug smugglers, of people smugglers, of people accused of the most serious crimes. They all go to the UAE because they don't have to extradite people to countries like the UK. So actually, there are a whole number of very serious criminals in Dubai.
But we have that here. We have them lurking in the shadows everywhere, actually, all over the world. But it's more the kind of the life, the quality of life, and not the looking over your shoulder the whole time, feeling that you can walk down the street and you're not going to be raped or attacked or...
Yeah, and listen, as I said, the way to deal with this and to stop this happening, at least from people that shouldn't be here, is to detain and deport them. This is a very simple solution, and I get that there's some complex laws and regulations around it. I don't care about those complex rules and regulations. We are the United Kingdom. We should be able to take a flight off and say, listen, if you don't take these people back now, we're cancelling visas. We're pulling out the foreign aid. That's the way we've got to start behaving because the world has changed. And I think I don't want to see another British citizen hurt by somebody who shouldn't be in this country. Moving on, we're just going to cross now to GB News' Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie, who is with farmers who are protesting over milk and cheese. Doogie, tell us more.
Well, welcome to Belfast, outside Tesco's main distribution centre in Northern Ireland. And in the last 5 minutes, a stream of tractors have arrived in here to block the entrance and exits off. We now have a line of lorries behind us, and farmers are protesting here basically over the price that they are receiving for milk, but also over legislation and regulation that is being put upon them. Joining me now is David Irwin. David, what price is a litre of milk now are you getting?
We're getting about 28p for a litre of milk. It's probably costing around 36, 37 to produce.
That's not sustainable.
That's not sustainable, no. Well, part of the reason why we're here to protest tonight is to highlight the growing differential between what we're paid for our food and what consumers pay to buy their food. And supermarket prices are increasing and increasing. And we don't want the consumer to pay more. We just want our fair share of the colossal supermarket profits. And the other big part of the reason why we're here tonight is to highlight the increasing regulatory burden that's put on us. Every single day of the week, unelected civil servants are throwing more and more regulatory pressure at us, and we just can't continue. We're going to run into a situation where family farms are not fit to survive, and we're going to end up with cheap imports and no food security whatsoever in this country.
Yes, we've seen that through the Mercosur agreement that has been signed by Europe, and of course, as Northern Ireland is part of that European market, we have to take our fair share. Half the price a kilo for Brazilian and Argentinian beef than it is for Irish beef.
Yes, well, beef prices are only now for the farmer where they need to be to make some sort of a living, and if the Mercosur beef comes in, that's going to be the beef industry absolutely finished.
Well, David, best of luck with your protest, and I hope nobody gets into too much trouble here. But really, this is what is coming out of farmers here, and they're talking about civil servants. We've seen this with the regulation rates on hotels and bars, where civil servants were setting rates, and civil servants don't actually have any clue about business as such, because what they're doing is putting all these regulations on them. They're not taking into account when they're setting rates, when they're setting these regulations, national insurance, tax, minimum wage, insurance itself, all these extra costs, and especially energy, that is so vital to the farming community to survive and make money, because at the end of the day, every farmer is not just somebody that enjoys the countryside. They are a multi-million-pound business, and if they cannot survive, our food costs will go up, or the quality of food will come down, and food security will be vital to Britain.
Dougie Beattie, thank you so much for being there in Belfast, bringing us that very important report. It seems to me that farmers across the entire United Kingdom are really suffering right now. Thank you, Dougie. We'll catch up with you again very shortly, I'm sure. Just want to ask Ingrid here, you know, you're living in the countryside now, and I've got family living in the countryside. It's so critical to communities, to the infrastructure of our country, that we actually support our farmers. They've come under attack from the government, from the civil service, from the supermarkets. It's going to be unsustainable for them.
Oh, it is. But, you know, I came up in a tractor to protest. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
But this is what they want. They want to destroy farming in this country and turn all the fields, agricultural fields, into wind farms and solar farms and all sorts of things. They want to destroy us. They want us to start eating ants, you know, and stuff like that. No, I know, Ben, you're looking like I've gone silly, but people do say this as well. But seriously, cockroaches and stuff like that. Yeah. They want to build stacked greenhouses so that it all goes up. It's not sprawling. Yes, all that. And they're doing it already.
This is it, Benjamin, isn't it? Farmers are the backbone of Britain. Without them, 60% of our food supply is gone, because the rest of it, of course, comes from around the world. We're moving into a very dangerous period in the world at the moment. There's wars starting left, right and centre. There's one raging on the outskirts of Europe here in the continent. Should we not be doubling down on helping farmers?
Well, I'm afraid I think people need to take responsibility for this, because the reason that this protest is happening, and it's not a new protest, these types of protests for these reasons, i.e. supermarket prices, have been going on for years and years, and that comes down to us. We're the consumers who are choosing the cheapest product. That is pushing supermarkets to maintain their business by bringing down prices. So I actually think, you know, it's easy to grandstand, but the truth is that it's the supermarkets and we as consumers that have to make these decisions to push the prices up. And people don't. People don't want to pay more for their cheese and their milk.
But they have to. But what I don't understand is that the farmers, they're making about 10p loss per litre. They have to say, no, we're just not going to sell it to you at that price, full stop. And they should and ought to be united on that. And then, of course, the price goes up, which things do. Yeah. Coffee goes up. Chocolate goes up because the cost of cocoa beans goes up. But then we take it. We have to just take it on the chin. We can't let our farmers suffer. We've just got to be loyal to them, back them.
Yeah, Elizabeth Holt here on gbnews.com/yours says, don't buy foreign beef, support British farmers. Hear, hear. All right, look, coming up next.
I raised that issue whilst I was here, and the Chinese are absolutely clear in response. The restrictions no longer apply. President Xi said to me that means all parliamentarians are welcome.
Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says China has agreed to lift sanctions on British MPs and peers after talks with President Xi Jinping. But is it really enough? This is State of the Nation, only on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
United legend Remy Moses and an
Yes,
imposter.
famously played for United back in the early 80s, having had a really successful spell at West Bromwich Albion, retired at the age of 28, of course, played for England. Now, you were telling me this morning you'd noticed the story, Anne, didn't you, in the Mail, and I checked it out myself.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned Remy Moses, I thought, well, what's she talking about Remy Moses for? I thought, well, he died weeks ago.
Yeah, except that he didn't.
He didn't. So a bloke called Kenneth Sim was masquerading as Remy Moses in the island of Zante, and he had been assuming this alias for many, many years. Kenneth Sim has turned out to be, he died just a few weeks ago, but he turned out to be a retired mortgage advisor from Hemel Hempstead, I think.
Now, the entire island...
Marketing executive, sorry.
Yeah, the entire island, including his wife, believed he was Remy Moses.
It was on his third wife.
He almost believed it.
So he died and they believed then that Remy Moses
has died, yes. And when
they even gave him a really big, glamorous, no, I don't mean that, sort of celebrity almost funeral.
Wow.
And he wore the Man United
they
kit when he
believed
was
they were burying the legendary footballer Remy Moses.
Yes, and he was revered on the island as well. I mean, he did a lot of good work. He coached women's football teams and he was involved in lots of different clubs. He didn't take any money for it. He could be seen wearing the United all the clothing, all the training kit and everything.
But when they did the funeral, they couldn't understand why there was nobody there from Manchester United.
They contacted the club.
He's one of their legendary figures.
Yeah.
Why did nobody come? So they contacted the club.
And they said, well, he's very much alive and well. And his brother said the furthest he goes is into Manchester to play snooker.
Yeah. So this man had convinced everybody he was Remy Moses for many, many years. Like I say, even his wife thought she was burying.
Wow.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says China has agreed to lift sanctions on British MPs and peers following talks with President of China Xi Jinping. Well, Sir Keir Starmer sat down with GB News' political editor Christopher Hope earlier today.
I know that the action taken in relation to our parliamentarians has been a real cause of concern, understandably so, and therefore I raised that issue whilst I was here. And the Chinese are absolutely clear in response that the restrictions no longer apply. President Xi said to me that means all parliamentarians are welcome. And I think that shows that if you engage, you can raise the difficult issues, the issues that my parliamentary colleagues would have expected me to raise, and therefore I can be clear the restrictions no longer apply.
During his visit, Sir Keir Starmer also secured a visa-free travel deal aimed at boosting trade and business ties. British citizens will now be able to visit China for up to 30 days without a visa, bringing the UK into line with France and Germany. The trip has been overshadowed by a warning from the US President Donald Trump, who said that cozying up to Beijing would be very dangerous. Well, I'm not really surprised to hear that, to be honest with you. I've been saying that for the last week. We can now speak with a former Conservative MP, though, Tim Loughton. Tim, thank you very much for joining me. You were on this list, I believe, and I think, are you still on this list? Tim, have you been negated from having the sanctions removed against you?
I don't know. I mean, I only found out that it was being considered because the media contacted us this morning. We had no word from Number 10 or the Foreign Office, let alone the Chinese government. Then it transpired that in the interview that Starmer said that all parliamentarians can now go to China. Well, there were 7 of us who were sanctioned back in 2021. 6 of us are still MPs and Lords. I'm the only one who's not. So apparently, on the face of that, I'm still sanctioned. Added to which there were 2 other important people sanctioned at the same time as us, Sir Geoffrey Nice, who ran the Uyghur tribunals, and Dr. Joe Smith-Finlay, an academic from Newcastle University. They apparently are still sanctioned as well, and a whole load of other organisations. So we're in the dark. It would have been nice if Number 10 had actually had the courtesy to have told us before all this was announced this morning anyway, and now clear up the confusion over who is and who isn't still sanctioned.
Yeah, because, Tim, this has been widely reported as a broad lifting of sanctions, but of course that isn't the case, is it? It's selective here. It seems to me to be active members of Parliament and peers, mostly Tories here, but one Labour peer, one crossbench peer as well. Tim, is this a bit of a cop-out? Has this been sort of dragged out by the Prime Minister at the last minute, in your opinion, and that maybe is why you haven't heard from them? Because perhaps they needed something more than smash the engines to come back to the British people with and visa-free travel, which... quite frankly, the press and many people commenting online are just going, what was the point?
And you've forgotten the 25p off for a bottle of scotch in Shanghai. I mean, he's come back with pretty thin gruel, and I think this is a bit of a fig leaf covering exercise. But there's a more important point to this, because I hope, and we put out a statement to all those who've been sanctioned, that this isn't part of some grubby deal, that in return the government's going to unsanction just the few Chinese officials who have been sanctioned, largely because of the repression they brought about in Hong Kong against people demonstrating, and that they're going to backtrack in the future about getting tough on the human rights abuses that are still going on, the genocide still going on against Uyghur people in China, the abuse against Tibetans in China, and the extraterrestrial oppression going on against Chinese citizens abroad, not least in the UK itself. So, look, we need full disclosure, full transparency, and that's why we put a statement out this afternoon, the 7 sanctioned parliamentarians and me, saying that if this is part of a grubby deal that's been done, we don't want to be part of it. We prefer to stay sanctioned rather than to take the pressure off the serious human rights abuses still being waged by the Chinese Communist Party government.
And Tim, you also, of course, you said you'd rather still be sanctioned. What's the impact for somebody? I don't think a lot of people understand the impact of sanctions. What are the impact of sanctions on you by the Chinese government?
Well, again, Alex, that's a pretty grey area. When we were sanctioned back in March 2021, we didn't all get a letter saying, "Dear Mr. Lawton, I have pleasure in informing you you've been sanctioned. You can't come to China. All your business interests in China have been frozen, and all your assets frozen." Apparently, there was just some press statement in Beijing, and we were informed by social media. We've never actually had a formal letter. Apparently, it means we can't go to China. Our close family members can't go to China, and all our assets in China have been frozen. Well, fortunately, I didn't have a holiday home in Wuhan or anything like that to be frozen, so it's pretty academic. But there is a more serious point that there are countries in the world who have agreements with China that if we found ourselves there, we might find ourselves then whisked onto a plane and end up in Beijing. And I was deported from Djibouti back in 2024 after making some comments about China trying to get into Djibouti. And colleagues have also had some strange situations they've been put in. So, we need full clarity on this. And it was absolutely appalling abuse of Parliament that MPs just doing their job, standing up for the free speech that we take for granted in this country, and all of a sudden we're persona non grata, banned from going to China. That's not on. That's why we can't treat the Chinese Chinese government as any normal Western democracy, and that's why we're against this trip that Starmer's taken place this week. That's been a complete dead loss, frankly.
Well, I certainly agree with you, Tim, and it seems to me that vast swathes of the British public also agree. Please come back, Tim, if you hear any more about this. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me.
You'll probably know before I do.
Well, I might be the one to tell you, Tim. You never know. Stranger things have clearly happened. Tim, thank you. Tim Loughton, former Conservative MP there, joining me to talk about this, this sort of half... as a word I don't want to use on live television, but a half in, half out of lifting of sanctions of other people. Benjamin, your thoughts?
Well, I always thought the idea of sanctions was rather pointless, because I doubt any of these lords or MPs had investments in China, and therefore it's meaningless. When we sanction Russians, for example, they often have millions of pounds of assets here, and so it has a tangible effect on them. But if you don't have a holiday home, as he puts it, in China, what difference does it make? But look, I don't think it's something we should be grateful for. From the comments that these politicians have made, they seem to say they'd rather be sanctioned and have the moral high ground, as they should. But on the flip side, China is an economy worth $18 trillion. It is rapidly expanding, and we can't pretend that we haven't been reliant on cheap Chinese-made products since the 80s. So we can't pretend not to work with them.
OK, brief comments from you, Ingrid?
Well, I think it's little steps in the right direction. It's not going to all happen at once. They're not going to wave a magic wand. So let's. I think the main thing is that we as a country, and all right, so Keir is representing us, although he's not sort of like democratically leaning himself. So, you know, they're on the same sort of page a little bit there. But at least they're trying to make inroads and have some sort of working partnership, and that's got to be a good thing.
Okay. There we go. There we go. What do you think at home? GBNews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. Up next, a Labour-run council has spent over £30,000 on a project designed to improve the mental health of asylum seekers. But at the same time, it's claiming it can't afford to run local elections. Surprise, surprise. This is State of the Nation, only on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Plenty of heavy rain over the central Mediterranean through the next few days. More rain heading into Portugal as well, and generally fine and sunny conditions across the Canaries. A drier day in Portugal on Saturday, but we are going to see more rain coming in here Sunday. There's the heavy rain from an area of low pressure across the central Med, looking very wet for Sardinia and Sicily, where it'll also be quite gusty. Some sunny spells for the Greek islands on Saturday, but we'll see some showers heading in here on Sunday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Evening. Yes, time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's a messy weekend. It won't rain all weekend, so there'll be a fair few showers around on Saturday. Sunday, overall, the drier day, but there's more wet weather to talk about for next week. Plenty of wet weather around tonight as well. This low pressure system's been moving its way up, providing heavy rain for parts of Wales and southwest England, where there is a Met Office yellow warning in place because it's been so wet. Extra rain falling may well cause some further flooding issues. The rain will spread into northern England, Northern Ireland, parts of southern Scotland by the end of the night. We continue with this brisk wind feeding the wet weather into eastern Scotland with snow on the hills. Temperatures holding up 4 to 7 degrees to start the weekend. Like recent days, western Scotland probably the place to be for dry and bright weather on Saturday, but also East Anglia in the southeast, probably largely fine for much of the day. Still quite wet across Wales and some showers to southwest England to begin with, and looking quite grey with showery rain over much of northern England, Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. There's that nagging wind which continues to feed cloud and rain into Aberdeenshire and the Northern Isles. But as I said, with some shelter, western Scotland doing okay for dry and bright weather. We should see some sunny spells developing for parts of Lincolnshire, generally staying dry and bright across eastern England. Further outbreaks of rain to come for Wales, the Midlands and a few showers in the southwest, perhaps turning a bit drier and brighter through the day in Northern Ireland. Temperature-wise, we're close to average, may get to double figures in the south, but feeling quite cool in that wind which continues to blow into Sunday across the northeast. I said overall a drier day on Sunday, but there will still be a few showers around. Quite a murky start, could be some mist and fog. A zone of rain works its way across Northern Ireland and into western Scotland. A few showers elsewhere, but some brighter spells. Temperatures, again, close to the average, 7 to 10 Celsius, similar to what they've been for much of this week.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable. What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, get this. A Labour-run council spent £30,000 on a project tackling the mental health of asylum seekers. Yet it claims, in the same hand, it can't afford to run local elections. Blackburn with Darwen Borough Council is one of 29 authorities granted government permission to skip elections this year, with critics suggesting Sir Keir Starmer is running scared. Holding the vote, however, would cost around £200,000, and the council insists the money is still better spent on delivering services people want. Meanwhile, a significant sum of money has gone to the project focused on asylum seekers' trauma, with funding granted to a university to support Blackburn with Darwen's asylum community. Well, joining us now is Head of Campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, Elliot Keck. Elliot, thank you for joining me. Is this a better use of taxpayers' money than running a local election?
Good evening, Alex, and you're right to highlight the story. The very fact that a council leader would dare to justify delaying or cancelling elections based on their costs shows the contempt that these people have for their voters and for local democracy. It's the stuff of a tin pot dictator, and it's shocking, really, that the government ever gave them permission to cancel these elections. For some councils, for 2 years running, bearing in mind, in particular because some of these councils have absolutely mad projects, mad spending schemes that, of course, voters won't have the chance to give their say on.
Yeah, Elliot, in some cases, the councillors will sit for, is it up to 7 years? That's longer than some prime ministers of recent past. This sort of democratic deficit, do you think the local, you're obviously Taxpayers Alliance, you hear from taxpayers quite a lot, do you think the local public would rather that more money was spent out of councils to have these elections, as opposed to the postponing of elections, of course, that would cost money because they'd have to have another election afterwards? Is this a good use of taxpayers' money?
Well, the last time we had a prime minister that lasted 7 years, I think, was Tony Blair. You have to go back quite some time. And listen, I think it's absolutely shocking. Democracy has a price, and it's a price worth paying because it means we have accountability for our rulers. And the one thing that we in particular hear from taxpayers that we speak to is their horror at the fact that so many of these councils will be allowed to increase council tax despite not having a democratic mandate to do that. And it makes me think of the American revolutionaries that declared no taxation without representation. And I think at the very least, the central government, Whitehall, Keir Starmer, should be banning these councils from increasing council tax, increasing parking charges or any other charges that the council levies, because they do not have the democratic mandate from their local residents to do that.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining me. That's Head of Campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, Elliot Keck. Thank you very much. I'll bring this over to you, Benjamin. Do you think, Elliot was saying there that Prime Minister is acting like a bit of a tin pot dictator? That's what a lot of people feel. He's in line with quite some famous people who've counselled elections in the past, some famous dictators. It's very unusual, isn't it, to counsel? You know, you're shaking your head.
I am. I mean, total balderdash. I mean, the fact is that these places are going to be ripped up and restructured. So why spend hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds in some cases on electing people to bodies that won't exist in 12 months' time? That is a waste of public money. And secondly, the council leader didn't say that it was too expensive to hold elections. He just pointed out the amount of money that would be wasted by holding them, only to have a new structure in a year. Yeah,
but you say it's going to be a year's time where this new structure comes in. That was a year ago when we were told that was happening. It's now 2 years, and that's the problem. The goalposts keep on moving for these elections, and you can see when people say, why do I want to have a councillor that doesn't represent me anymore, who's been in for perhaps 7 years, longer than some prime ministers or most recent prime ministers? It's a massive deficit of democracy,
yes.
Ingrid.
Oh, it totally is. But quite apart from that, I just think the whole thing just irritates me, and the hypocrisy that they're spending this money on mental health issues on asylum seekers. What about the people in their own towns? What about the people in the rest of the country? What about the poor kids? In the 16 to 24-year-old bracket, it is severe. You've got the lockdown children and that missed all the schooling and everything. They're suffering hugely, dreadful mental repercussions on that. And it's going to asylum seekers. That gets me. That really, really irritates me. But, I look at the other councils as well. It should be all or nothing, don't you think? That would be the fairest way to actually do it with the elections. You can't sort of, like, have some doing it and not others.
Brief word.
Well, no, if you're going to restructure places, and it makes a lot of sense because there's so much overlap, there's so many places that are outdated with where people actually live these days. Ripping them up, saving public money makes sense. And I didn't know when right-wingers suddenly wanted to have more bureaucracy and more money spent on politicians. What hypocrisy, Alex Armstrong.
I just don't think that you can put a price on democracy. Maybe you can on the left, but that's not for me,
I'm sure that's why you were in favour of a second referendum, then.
I'm definitely not. That's a very different topic. We won't get into it yet. Defending Blackburn's decision to ask for the postponement to local elections, Phil Riley, the council's Labour leader, said this: "We would rather the money went on delivering services people want than on an election which would have to be repeated just a year later and on different ward boundaries." OK. Meanwhile, regarding the mental health project, Blackburn and Darwin Council have said this: "The aim of this commission is to develop a project focusing on trauma within the asylum community in Blackburn with Darwin." OK. In a moment, do you use artificial intelligence? Well, millions of people do now. And a new report suggests that some AI chatbots have a severe left-wing bias. What are the repercussions of that? Because I don't think many people realise this is quite a serious one. This is State of the Nation, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to State of the Nation. Well, look, a lot of you, maybe your kids, maybe you at home, might be using artificial intelligence. And a worrying new report, it's been suggested that AI chatbots are primarily using left-wing sources when providing questions about the news. It was revealed by the Institute for Public Policy Research that platforms like ChatGPT and Google's artificial intelligence, Gemini, cited publications such as The Guardian and the BBC in more than half of their answers. Now, I've got my fantastic panel here, Ingrid Tarrant and Benjamin Butterworth, to talk about this. Ingrid, obviously, a lot of us in this media sphere will use ChatGPT. Sometimes we'll ask it questions. Give me the answer to something that happened here. But it's something that could be quite complex that we normally spend hours and hours going through Google search to find. We ask ChatGPT and rely on that to search for us. A lot of my colleagues, I know being here at GB News, don't use ChatGPT for this exact reason now because they find it has a left-wing bias. Well, and that's worrying when we think about our kids, universities, who are writing and learning, using ChatGPT. They're using it as their primary source of searching, and they could be just being completely led into a left-wing, rabbit hole.
Well, I'm very late to the party on this in any case because I always go to Wikipedia.
Do you?
Yes. And the only time I use something like GBT or whatever, I'm just talking to my phone about what comes up, is like this evening, what time does the car park stop charging fees? But then I realised it was 24 hours, and that's the sort of thing that I get from AI. but having said that, I looked into this because it is quite interesting. I'm not overly concerned because AI is only being what the printed publications are doing. You will find your place. So if you're left-leaning, it'll be The Guardian and things like that. If you're right-leaning, you'll do The Telegraph and The Mail. And interesting, I noticed that The Mail doesn't use any of those, but it does use Google. But that comes up as well, that Google is being used by The Guardian too. It's difficult.
It is.
I have to say it's difficult because you can manipulate, but I don't know, it's for the younger ones who don't question things. We are so suspicious.
Yes.
Well, we are going to question things, but the younger ones, it is going to affect them. It can lead them and sway them the wrong way.
Well, I find this. So Benjamin, if I'm researching something and I'll ask, provide me a list of, X, Y, and Z, it is always very left-leaning on ChatGPT. However, if I go to Grok, which is Elon Musk's platform, Grok is more right-leaning. Is this a problem we have?
Well, I mean, the Grok, which is Twitter's AI tool, I find incredibly unreliable because there was something went viral about me, something incredibly insignificant, and the AI tool was telling people that the claim made that I'd taken my gender pronouns out of my bio. They were never in my bio at any point ever. And then the AI was telling everyone, yes, he's removed them. Now, it was completely made up, but because lots of people had claimed it, then the AI tool reflected that claim and said it was true, which was quite frustrating, but also quite insightful to how it gets things wrong. And so these are based on the sources that they accept. And I suppose the difference is that on social media, a mass of people making a claim will be reflected in it. It doesn't make it accurate.
Sure.
It's about where they source their knowledge from. I have to say, with ChatGPT, which I use every single day, I find it incredibly useful. I don't really ask political questions because I kind of think you have to make your mind up for yourself on those. But I find that it tends to be very neutral and offer you various options as answers, and you can pursue those subsequently.
Well, what is neutral when you're on the left, I guess, really?
It's neutral, and you cited that as left-wing, and it's not.
It's reversed for me. That was what we were seeing in the car. But listen, I also wanted to play this clip for you because it really gave me the giggles. Have a look at this. He's just getting dragged around the room. That's what's going. That's our Prime Minister, the man representing our country, getting dragged around by the Chinese on a red carpet. Bowing, very politely bowing to the Chinese Communist flag there as well.
Oh, I know, it's absolutely wonderful. And in exchange, he hands him over a football from Man U. I love it.
Yeah, was it an Arsenal one or a football? Man U one, right? Because I think Xi Jinping's a Man U fan. What did you make of our Prime Minister being dragged around by the communists?
Well, I feel sorry for him because someone should tell you where to stand and walk. There's probably quite awkward engagements. So I feel a bit sorry for Keir Starmer in that case. But also, he's a relatively small frame of a man, and so against people like Xi Jinping, that's quite a bulky lad. I think he does look particularly demure.
Yeah, though, I think the Conservative Party mocked up an image of Keir Starmer sort of as a tiny little man. It went viral on the internet, didn't it? But this is it's just so sad that our country is sort of just... I don't know, you see our Prime Minister getting dragged around by some random communist official.
He's not being dragged around. He just didn't know exactly where to walk on the red carpet, and he probably assumed the Chinese official would be, near the army.
All right. Ingrid, Benjamin, thank you very much. It's been great fun having you. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock with some exclusive footage for you. Come and join me on Alex Armstrong tonight. Patrick is up next. Patrick, looking forward to your show.
Well, we're here with our live studio audience, everybody. Thank you so much. We've got people from Vancouver in. We've got people from Australia in. Oh, it's brilliant. You love it. And there's a lot to go at, yes. Sir Keir Starmer's comedy tour of China continues, doesn't it? What are they going to have him doing tomorrow? Wrestle a panda or something? I mean, it's ridiculous. We're also going to be talking about, big GBNews exclusive. Now illegal migrants are apparently trying to set police on fire in France, so can't wait for that to come our way. The NHS has told people to stop referring to people as Sir and Mrs, just in case they offend trans people. So that's happening in our NHS. We'll be talking about that. There's been a betrayal of the WASPy women as well by Labour, more lies. There's a huge amount to go at. All of that and more when we come back. Well done, everybody.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's a messy weekend. It won't rain all weekend, so there'll be a fair few showers around on Saturday. Sunday, overall, the drier day, but there's more wet weather to talk about for next week. Plenty of wet weather around tonight as well. This low pressure system's been moving its way up, providing heavy rain for parts of Wales and southwest England, where there is a Met Office yellow warning in place because it's been so wet. Extra rain falling may well cause some further flooding issues. The rain will spread into northern England, Northern Ireland, parts of southern Scotland by the end of the night. We continue with this brisk wind feeding the wet weather into eastern Scotland with snow on the hills. Temperatures holding up 4 to 7 degrees to start the weekend. Like recent days, western Scotland probably the place to be for dry and bright weather on Saturday, but also East Anglia in the southeast probably largely fine for much of the day. Still quite wet across Wales and some showers to southwest England to begin with, and looking quite grey with showery rain over much of northern England, Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. There's that nagging wind which continues to feed cloud and rain into Aberdeenshire and the Northern Isles. But as I said, with some shelter, western Scotland doing okay for dry and bright weather. We should see some sunny spells developing for parts of Lincolnshire, generally staying dry and bright across eastern England. Further outbreaks of rain to come for Wales, the Midlands and a few showers in the southwest, perhaps turning a bit drier and brighter through the day in Northern Ireland. Temperature-wise, we're close to average, may get to double figures in the south, but feeling quite cool in that wind which continues to blow into Sunday across the northeast. I said overall a drier day on Sunday, but there will still be a few showers around. Quite a murky start, could be some mist and fog. A zone of rain works its way across Northern Ireland and into western Scotland. A few showers elsewhere, but some brighter spells. Temperatures, again, close to the average, 7 to 10 Celsius, similar to what they've been for much of this week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This year, the adventure of a lifetime could be on us. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. Choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, New Zealand or even Sri Lanka. We'll also boost your bank account with a fabulous £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB9.